I think the main thing would just be to start. I mean, even if, if you went, I just want to try boxing, just show up. And, one of the misconceptions that I had was, I'm going to go there and get bashed. Yes, you will, but it's not like that on your first experience. Yeah. I mean, fight gyms in particular, they're extremely welcoming to new members for people that are willing to learn.
Yeah.
Because, coaches and other fighters and, gym owners, they know how daunting it can be, for not your average Joe, but just for, someone who's had a background in fitness, played footy and stuff like that. Yeah, it was daunting for me just to step in there and just to do, an hour on the bag, just being in that environment. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get.
Welcome to More Than Money with your host, Ross Marais. This episode of More Than Money is brought to you by More Time Financial, a financial planning company who are on a mission to help young Australians make smarter decisions with money by providing real-life financial advice, coaching, and financial education.
Hey, what's up? It's Ross Marais. Welcome back to another episode of More Than Money. On this podcast, I have real conversations about lifestyle, money, and business. Sometimes I share interviews with business owners and entrepreneurs about starting their own business and their journey. Other times we do financial education and informational episodes to help you make smarter decisions with money, just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. Now, before we get started on today's episode, this is just a friendly reminder in order to keep our lawyers happy that in preparing this podcast, myself and any contributors have not taken into account any particular person's objectives, financial situation, or needs. So before acting on any of this information, you should consider its relevance to your personal circumstances, and if required, seek the assistance of a licensed professional. Welcome back to another episode of the More Than Money podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ross Marais. In today's episode, we have a less of a money-focused episode and more of a job/career-focused one for you. So in my job as a financial advisor and running my business, More Time Financial, I get to meet a lot of people. So whether that's clients or other business owners. And I'm fortunate to be exposed to a wide range of different careers, jobs, as well as different businesses that people decide to start. And I say that I'm fortunate because I personally am super interested in people and human behavior. So hearing different people's perspectives, experiences gives me a greater understanding of the world around me, which I think is super valuable. So just as I get so much benefit from talking to these people and hearing their stories, when I come across someone who's doing something cool or a little bit different as a job or a business, I'm always interested to get them on the podcast and share their story with you, just so more and more people can hear different experiences and maybe give you a greater sense of an understanding of what's possible for yourself, whether that's a job or maybe just a different hobby that you could potentially make some extra money from, which you maybe didn't realize was possible. And that's definitely the case for my guest today. So on today's episode, I have a really good friend of mine, Tanera Nathan, who is currently a combat sports commentator. And he has commentated for Fox Sports and also commentated over 30 professional MMA shows for the promotion Eternal. So in today's episode, I discuss with Tanera how his combination and love for health and fitness, in particular boxing and MMA, as well as his mum forcing him to take weekly professional communication classes since he was 15 years old, has led him down the path of commentating on sports. And after just doing 2 amateur PCYC, or just being the MC for 2 amateur PCYC fight events, led him to commentating a Boxing Mania match on Fox Sports, which is pretty incredible. So I hope you get as much valuable information out of hearing Tanera's story as I did chatting with him, and I hope you enjoy today's episode.
My name is Tanera Nathan. I am 29 years of age, almost 30, and have a few occupations. However, I think the one that we are here to mainly talk about today is that I've been commentating combat sports for the past 3 years.
Combat sports. This is probably a good place to start. Why do you call it combat sports?
Combat sports. Well, started doing boxing.
Yep.
Before I transitioned very quickly to focusing on commentating MMA.
Yep.
And to answer your question, why they call it combat sports, doesn't get any more combative than it's combat sports.
Combat sports.
Combat sports. I love it all. Boxing, MMA, Muay Thai, Don't like training Muay Thai because I can't handle the leg kicks.
Yep.
But love the sports, mainly MMA.
Yeah.
MMA, the wrestling side of it.
Wrestling
side of it.
Yep.
Boxing. Wrestling and boxing were my two favorites at high school, as you probably know, Roscoe.
How many fights have you had?
I've only had two, what you would call corporate fights.
Corporate?
Yeah, a few years ago now. So you've got your amateur fights where it goes on your record.
Yep.
Professional fights where it also goes on your record, but you obviously get paid for that.
Yeah.
Corporate fights, they still do them today. They're pretty rare, but this was probably back in, would have been 2011 now. At the
what was that? Was that a boxing fight?
Just a boxing fight, yeah.
Boxing match.
Boxing match, yes, boxing match. 12-ounce gloves, no headgear. They don't usually have weight classes for corporate fights. I know they do today, but back then they didn't. But luckily, me and my counterpart were around the same weight, 100 plus kilos.
100 plus.
And no, enjoyed it. Enjoyed the experience. So
do you win in those fights, or is it just a? Look,
I mean, usually there's some sort of not agreement, but you're not really meant to go 100%.
An understanding,
like an exhibition.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, there wasn't really that between me and both of my opponents. The first guy I fought, his name was Eduardo Lim.
Yep.
He's a big Korean dude. And then the second guy.
Did you feel that you won? Did you put it down in the win or loss column?
Look, I think you'd have to let the fans decide that one. Not that there's any video footage, thank goodness. But look, I enjoyed the experience, both of them.
Yeah.
And they were back to back, week after week.
Yeah, right.
Very, very, very nerve-wracking experience. Very different to playing rugby.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot of the footy guys get in there today, and they're confident as hell. Complete opposite for me.
When you haven't got 14 other blokes around you.
No, I can't hide behind you and JB and Kimmo and whoever else, on the footy field. But no, I enjoyed it, and I think at that time, I was only back 2011, 19, turning 20. It was right before I took off to West Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, had to do it. I was training at Prophecy Fight Centre at the time.
Yeah,
I think they were located just around the corner. And a few of the boys were fighting on a local MMA show, and they had a couple of boxing shows. So me and one of the boys just trotted off and had some fun.
Nice. So
but that's more that is the extent of my experience in the ring.
Okay. So what do you prefer to call it? Do you prefer to call it MMA or combat, or just fighting?
Well, I commentate primarily MMA today.
Yeah. Okay.
And the majority of the training that I do at the local gym at Carlson Gracie is focused on MMA.
Okay.
So yeah.
So what was your first experience of MMA or combat?
Probably at school.
Yeah.
You remember when we were at school wrestling with Hurls?
Mr. Hurley.
Yeah. And if you remember,
very angry man.
Very angry man. If you remember, we were training in 2007 with that first 15 team of the century. He went out and bought the wrestling mats, put it in the Centenary Centre, and we're all standing around like, right, we're wrestlers now. That was my first exposure or experience, and I loved it. Yep. We wrestle I think it was every Tuesday and Thursday, 2007, 2008, our year in 2009. And then, leaving school, continuing to play for what it was, Breakers, Bond Uni back then. I just carried on wrestling at Prophecy Fight Centre.
So did you go straight? Did you start doing it straight after school?
Straight after school.
You just kept going?
Straight after school. I had a mate, I was training at EFC at the time, just lifting weights, and he goes, "Oh, come down to the gym, do some MMA." And I pretty much went down there just to do the wrestling side of it, to help with rugby. Because, a lot of the movements, a lot of the grappling, I thought would be able to, probably more so with rugby league, but would definitely help with rugby union.
Yeah.
But then, 2-3 weeks later, and my 2-week trial ran out, I ended up joining up and, started doing the boxing side.
And so what was that gym? Was that
That was an MMA gym. MMA gym / probably Muay Thai gym.
I'm sure it was when you look at the history, but do you ever remember UFC when we were back at school?
No.
I don't ever remember it being a thing.
Definitely not as big as it was today.
No.
I mean, I remember all the fighters. You had Chuck Liddell, you had Wanderlei Silva. This was like 2007, maybe 2008. But we were just so focused on. No, it wasn't really. And I mean, it wasn't like it is today. I mean, we were just so focused.
Well, I guess
on
it
rugby.
wasn't mainstream. Like it was obviously there, but it wasn't mainstream.
Not at all. Not at all. Not like it is today. But you had the big superstars that I like to follow. I mean, you also had Pride Fighting Championships, which was pretty big around back then. But no, definitely not in the media like you see it today, and especially social media. I mean, why be a football player when you can be a fighter on Instagram, right?
So that was your kind of first experience doing it purely for rugby, and then doing it after school was just purely for rugby, and then you got hooked.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, my coach at the time, his name was Chris Kirby, and I told him straight off the bat. I said, "Look, I'm really only here just to do the wrestling." And he was an amateur wrestler, Greco-Roman, freestyle wrestling, very, very good wrestler, and he was actually there to teach the MMA/wrestling class. And I told him straight up. I just said, "Hey mate, look, I'm really only here, not interested in fighting, but I'm only here to improve my skills for rugby because I think this will help me progress, to where I wanted to go in rugby." And he goes, "Yeah, no, that's fine. Come along, see how you go." And then 2-3 weeks later, I'm in there hitting pads and kicking the heavy bag, and it was really, really fun, and it was quite refreshing as well, because after being saturated at school and rugby's all you think about, and even when you leave school, just to kind of see something different, I really enjoyed it. So that was my first experience
and
with.
You're hooked from then.
Pretty much hooked. I mean, I knew that I was never going to go on and fight in the UFC, but I loved the training.
Yeah,
I love the training side, and I'm glad I had the experience when it comes to, I don't think you could call the 2 corporate fights I had, on record as an amateur or as a professional.
Yeah.
But made the walk, had the experience, and enjoyed it. And yeah, I definitely think that's an experience that I'll hold with me for the rest of my life, and it's probably what's led me here today, to be honest.
Well, I was going to ask, what was the reason you kept training? Was it keep fit, the community, you like punching people, or like relaxation, meditation? Like, what was the?
I enjoyed the training.
Yeah,
I enjoyed the training. It wasn't like rugby where everything you did led to the game on the weekend. Like yourself, our training during the week, 6 days, twice a day. It's all for that 80 minutes. Whereas I actually enjoyed going to the gym and, right, what new skill can I learn today? What new move are we going to learn today? You don't really know. It's not like footy where, you see the same people every day. You have new bodies, you have new people. People come from different backgrounds, different experiences. And that's the thing, you leave all that stuff at the door. And when you're on the mats or in the ring, you do have that mutual respect for each other. So I did it purely for the training.
Yeah.
Not to, in 10 years' time, I'm going to be a commentator, I'm going to be a fighter. I did it just because I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Not all the time, obviously, but it's even to this day, I don't have any ambitions or aspirations on taking this any further than what it already is, but to learn.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, I've kind of gone back to it in the last 3 or 4 years, is to learn things that I don't know about the sport.
And mainly just you're doing at the moment. Okay, I'll get to that now, but like. The training you're doing at the moment is you're close to MMA. You're not focusing on one particular style or discipline.
Yeah. I mean, at the gym at Carlson Gracie, it's primarily a jiu-jitsu gym.
Yeah.
But we do have MMA classes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you know Cam Bracewell. He'll take the wrestling class. Sam Dolby coaches judo, and he also fights as well. I'll go there just like as a sparring partner for them.
Gotcha.
I probably need to do a bit more BJJ. Yeah. I'm your classic one stripe white belt, disappear for a year. Sorry, coach. But no, I do, and I think the main reason I do go there, and I'm only there, twice a week, 3 times a week, but it is to learn, to help out the fighters. And it's mainly for my knowledge.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the booth, when I am commentating, I can see things that I wouldn't see, previously.
Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, you train, you said 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Is that a set thing you do every week?
Yep.
Same time.
Yep.
Same gym.
Usually, yeah. Okay. Usually, Tuesdays is MMA.
Yep.
And then Saturdays is sparring.
And at the same gym. Both times.
Same gym, both times. Carlson Gracie.
Same coach, same training partner.
Usually, yeah. Yep. Usually you'll have the same bodies. Especially if we've got guys preparing for fights. You'd want to have as many bodies as you can. Doesn't always turn out that way, but yeah, for the most part, you will have the same guys show up for the same classes. Yeah.
You're training at the moment, so you're doing obviously just for fun and to stay fit. But
absolutely.
You're doing mat work, you're doing cardio.
Yep.
Like what other stuff you're doing? You're still doing strength training?
Yeah. I'll do my own strength training.
You're just doing rugby and stuff. Like.
Yeah. So, I only played 2 games for Bond this year, but, had a season with
honorary member,
lifetime member at Bond Uni. But, played for Bond last year. That was my first year back since I think about, probably 2014.
Yeah.
I think since the last time, were you there back in 2014? Where were you?
Yeah, I was 2014 at Bond.
2014 at Bond. Yeah, I think we were all there. Got injured, took 6 years off, come back last year, played for Bond. Played a season of rugby league for the mighty Parkwood Sharks.
Nice.
Won the 2020 premiership there, and then went back to Bond this year. But just got caught up.
So at the moment?
Yeah.
Obviously, every week I'm sure changes a bit, but what would be like a typical training schedule?
For me?
Yeah.
It could be better, but Monday would usually be strength. Either, I'll go to like the bar park, just do some strength training, and then we usually play Monday night touch.
Nice.
I've been going strong there. Tuesdays would be, if I can get to MMA, would be MMA at 6:30.
And is that MMA class is just a general, like anyone could rock up to it?
So you'll have all levels. Yeah, you'll have all levels there. You'll have, like I said, you'll have the fighters there. Then you'll have your beginners like myself.
Yeah.
And then you'll have, people that, may have done the earlier 5:30 BJJ class. I'll hang around for some MMA as well.
Okay.
And that's on 6:30 at Tuesday. Wednesday, I'll just do my own strength training. Thursday, if it's in season, I'll make my weekly appearance at Bond Rugby to get named in the side, only to decline on the Saturday. So Thursday would usually be strength and rugby training. And then Friday, can either take the day off or another light strength session there before sparring on Saturday morning.
And what's a sparring session look like? Like an hour, 2 hours?
Usually anywhere between, say, 60 to 70 minutes.
Yeah. And doing rounds like you would?
Yeah. So, everyone will run their sparring differently. To be quite honest with you, I don't really classify myself as a coach, but just from what I've seen from, my mates who have fought and, sparring at other gyms as well.
Yeah.
You'd rock up there at 6 o'clock, do your own individual warm-ups, and then at 6:15 you'd have, you could do, maybe 2 or 3 light rounds. And then the general consensus is that, if you're in fight camp, like we do with Sam and Will and the other fighters, you, depending on what length the rounds are and how many rounds there are, you could do anywhere between 3 5-minute rounds, or you could even extend that to 5 5-minute rounds.
Gotcha.
And usually we'll do work with the 16 ounces and the shin pads, and then you'll put the 7-ounce MMA gloves on and do some full MMA sparring for say 2 or 3 rounds at the end. So pretty intense. I mean, if you're free on Saturday morning, feel free to come down. Bring the camera.
Bring the camera.
Bring the camera.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's good to know what because I think that's we'll come to it a bit in terms of if you were starting out, what kind of training you should be doing. So we'll come to that in a bit. But what do you see besides the fitness aspect of it as the benefits of doing MMA personally or for someone else, I guess?
I think besides the fitness aspects of it, I mean, mentally it's helped me a lot. And I'm proud to say this. I think in 2016. Like we all face, I didn't really know what I was doing with my life, and I was going through a lot mentally. And it wasn't until one of my good mates, Stace, he invited me down to just the local PCYC. He said, "Hey, mate, come do some boxing." I was dealing with a few injuries at the time. He said, "Come do some boxing, see how you go."
Yeah.
And I think, other than the work that I was doing, back in 2010, 6 years later, that's what really reignited, my passion, not just for training, but just for life in general. I think I always related to, I started out as a beginner again in 2016, just learning new things, and it was strictly boxing. But I think that if you incorporate what I learned in the beginning, right up until now, almost 5 years later, it helped me mentally.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the problems that we face in life, we struggle to get away with them. You got no choice to get away from them when you're in the ring, whether you're doing drill work or whether it is full sparring or, you're on the bag, your problem is what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And I think for me, within that 60 to 90 minutes, that allowed me to, just leave everything at the door, come and focus And when you go back to it, the endorphins you release in your body, you feel better, you feel more confident.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helped me. So other than the physical benefits of, weight loss or muscle gain, whatever you want to do, as well as learning new skills, the one thing I can definitely testify is that it's helped me mentally.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I've, gained a greater love for the sport than I did, 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I find it so interesting. I think it's like, because obviously at the moment, like for me, just training, go to the gym, go running. Yeah. It's like, it's fine, but you always miss that bit of like, obviously playing rugby, like you miss that being,
yes, mate.
Obviously not being like being sexist, but like being like doing manly shit.
Absolutely.
Like fighting people, like wrestling or like tackling someone, like hitting someone, like that kind of stuff. You obviously, I don't do that. You can't do that in public. But you can obviously hit someone legally in a gym.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen to that, brother. Hey, come down Saturday.
Yeah. What do you reckon is one of the biggest misconceptions about MMA training that maybe non-MMA or non-fighters have?
Non-fight. Well, speaking as a non-fighter myself.
Well, I guess just fighting or training. Like, do you reckon the biggest misconception that when you say, "Oh, I do MMA," do people just go, "Oh, cool"? So you're going to try and get in the UFC? Like,
yeah, that's one of them. That's one of them. I think that's. It's funny you asked that. I think that's one of the misconceptions that I had when I was first starting was that, I was always a bit, a little bit, hesitant when it came to trying MMA because I didn't want that stigma of, you're an MMA fighter, you're just another tough guy. That's not what it is at all. Yeah. I think that was the view of MMA fighters in the early days. Yeah. When you used to watch the UFC and. You used to see Chuck Liddell with the mohawk and the tattoos. We make that.
Scariest looking bloke in the world.
Scariest dude on the planet. Wouldn't want to go near him. But I think as I've gotten to know the fighters, over the years of commentating, they're just normal guys like me and you.
Yeah.
That have a passion for a sport the same way that me and you absolutely love rugby or rugby league or whatever else. And I think that's the misconception is that it's no longer seen as a tough guy sport. It's actually seen like we were talking about earlier before. It's really mainstream these days. So someone says, I'm an MMA fighter, and they don't have a mohawk or tattoos. I mean, some do,
or a tap out shirt,
or a silver star or silver star shorts or whatever. Some of them do, but the general consensus is we see these guys as I see them now. As athletes and not just tough guys fighting in a cage.
Yeah.
I mean, some people still support that view, but at the end of the day, I've spoken to a lot of fighters, commentated a fair few fights, and they're just normal guys like me and you that have a passion for a sport.
Yeah.
Some of them are going to the UFC, and I can definitely some of the ones that I've watched and commentated lately will make it to the UFC, but other people, like myself, do it for the training, do it to learn more, and then. Say they do have a couple of fights and it does take off. Well, full, good luck to them.
Yeah.
But the misconception that I found in the beginning was, it's not just a tough guy sport. I mean, when I went to Prophecy back in the day, you had a lot of tough guys there because it was still in that stage. Yeah. But you see the way the sport's progressed. Excuse me, especially here on the Gold Coast, because every man and his dog, has or had an MMA gym at some stage here on the coast. Especially down here, Miami, and even further south, it's really come into its own where it's not just your tough guy competition. It is being seen as a sport, which I think is good.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Coming back to the thing about the UFC, I always find it interesting because people are like, oh, I'm training UFC. It's like, no, you're not. Yeah. You're doing MMA. I feel like it's the same as like people are like, oh, I play NRL.
Yeah,
it's like. No, you don't play in the National Rugby League tournament. You play rugby league.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
You're not playing NRL.
Yeah, no, that's funny. It's, I joke all the time with my mates at work. Yeah, I'm just going to go do some UFC training.
Yeah, go do some UFC training.
Enjoy your UFC.
Yeah.
It's good. And, I only use Chuck Liddell as, because that's who I saw as an example, and that's because, people know, he was the big dog back in the day. But that's the image that people sometimes still get, training UFC.
Yeah, definitely. So if we change things to a little bit from training to the commentating, which is obviously you're in the commentating look at the moment. Yeah. You got the headphones and the microphone on. How did that all come about? Where'd you start, or how did it start?
Yeah, So I remember being at university and I was in accounting for decision making.
I did that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
How good is it? High distinction for you, mate, especially.
Fantastic subject.
How good. But I was sitting in that class and I think it was like semester 2. And for whatever reason, I was just daydreaming and I just, when you have those light bulb moments, it was one of those ones where the light bulb went off for me. It didn't come on, it went off. It was like, no more decision. I mean, no more decision making, but I need to make some serious decisions because I was like, man, I just got no idea what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And, I walked out of that class, I knew I was going to finish the degree.
So this was what year?
2016.
Yeah.
2016. I knew I was going to finish the degree because I'd started. But, between 2016, 2017.
What was the degree you're studying?
Bachelor of Business.
Yep.
Like everyone else.
Nice.
Majoring in sports management. Yep. And I think the other one was marketing or finance.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Something. But no, I knew I wanted to finish the degree. But, over the next couple of years, I really needed to figure out what I was going to do. And I think that, I felt like I had the communication skills to do something, whether it was talk show hosting, radio hosting, podcasting, whatever. I just didn't know. But I was training at PCYC at Bundle at the time, and my coach, his name's Jay, he was organising tournaments for the amateur boxers at the gym.
Yep.
And I said to him, just one day, I think it might have been late 2016. I said to him, hey, when you have your tournaments, do you have an MC like a Bruce Buffer? I said, do you have someone on the mic that just introduces the fighters? And he goes, yeah, we do. I said, look, can I do it? And he goes, really? And I said, yeah, no, I just want to try it. I said, can I do it?
And you'd never done anything?
Nothing.
Have you MC'd a couple of weddings or you'd done speeches?
No, nothing.
Did you enjoy public speaking, anything like that?
Well, I did. I got a professional certificate of communication skills at school.
Gotcha.
So I did that with one of the teachers at school. Her name was Miss Warburton, and once a week I would go and have communication classes with her.
I did not know that.
This wasn't. Yeah, I know. I was just going to say you probably didn't know this.
Know that.
I did it undercover. Obviously, wasn't going to tell any of you blokes.
Just what one-on-one?
Just one-on-one. Just one-on-one.
Why'd you do that?
Well, my mum put me into it. I'd been doing it since I was year 9, and no one even knew because you guys would mock the hell out of me and laugh me out the door. Before I was never going to tell any of you blokes in the locker room, but I did this undercover from about year 9 till year 12.
Hectic.
And it's just like anything else. So, I definitely credit that. So that would be
100%.
I definitely credit that, and I definitely owe her a big thank you when I see her next.
Yeah. So what did that look like? Go one-on-one for an hour or something?
Just one-on-one for an hour.
On a Wednesday afternoon where we didn't have training?
Wednesday afternoon when we didn't have training, when all you blokes were in chemistry with Miss Waring, so you couldn't. Oh, where's he gone? Where's he disappeared to? No, completely undercover. And I did that once a week for an hour.
So what'd you do?
She just taught me, different things. It wasn't necessarily like the speech or drama acting side.
Yeah.
But it was more so, my posture's terrible now, but it was more so presenting yourself, how to communicate using body language.
You can pull the mic back up.
Yeah, I might do that actually. There we go.
Get the shoulders back.
Go.
Get the shoulders back.
You think I'd know what I'm doing.
Then she'll be happy.
There we go. You happy now?
If she watched this.
Terrible posture. But it was just stuff like this. Just one-on-one, and then she'd teach me, right, when you're speaking, body language here. When it'd be like, I'd do things like reading poetry. But it wouldn't necessarily be the content of the poem.
Yeah.
It would be more so the delivery. I think for one of my exams, I did a haka in front of the examiner by myself in the Anand Theatre.
Yeah.
Just me and him by myself. Ended up passing the exam, thank goodness. But it was just different things like that, getting out of your comfort zone.
100%. Yeah.
And, as me and you both know, public speaking it's a big fear of a lot of people. For me now, at the ripe age of 30, it's probably one of the easiest things I could do.
Is it funny? I'm just thinking about then, the value that, the shit that I do now, I literally speak every single day,
absolutely.
On the phone in meetings, doing presentations, trying to communicate and educate people about certain things. So if I had done something like that, it would be so beneficial. But as you said back then, we would have paid you out about it, and no one would have wanted to do it. And you did it secretly.
I did it secretly,
but
exactly.
It would have been the most beneficial thing for everyone.
It would have, and look, and this is not to be an arrogant asshole, which I am, but it's people say, I am good on the mic. I never inhale that. But what I do is I credit that to the work that I did at school.
Yeah.
And then pretty much all I'm doing now is I'm just bringing out all those skills to be able to, give the fighters their moment.
Yeah.
Whether it's commentating rugby, whether it's commentating MMA or on the mic in boxing, it's using those skills to be able to, that's why I do it. And that's why I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
Was because I know I've got the foundation there. So it's like, right, now I can actually use it. And, Mum always said, you'll thank me one day. And, pretty much after I commentated, my first show for Fox, I ended up thanking her.
Thanks, Mum.
Thanks, Mum.
Fuck, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
I'm glad you didn't know that.
I didn't know
that's
that
a hidden
at all.
gem there.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, that's epic.
Yeah. No.
So you did it. You did that first one,
So I did the first one at PCYC.
which is just boxing, and anyway, PCYC, obviously, just your local, very amateur, like.
Yeah, local tournament. You had kids there ranging from the ages of 12 to, your elite amateurs who would have been, early 20s.
Yeah.
I remember that card clearly because it started at 10 o'clock in the morning and I didn't get home till 1 o'clock the next morning. They had 80 fights.
80.
And my coach loves doing this. He loves stacking cards. And they had fighters all around the country.
And you did the whole day?
Did the whole day. Started there at 10 o'clock.
On the mic or just using the voice?
On the mic, pretty much all it was. It wasn't really I wasn't commentating, but pretty much what it was from the blue corner, Ross Marais, from the red corner, Jack Kimmins, whoever else, round one, but I treated it, and there's a clip out there, I treated it like it was kind of my audition for myself.
Have you got that clip?
I do. I'll send it to you later. It's hilarious.
Perfect.
Went full Bruce Buffer in that clip. And, it was just pretty much, I just wanted to see if I enjoyed it, and two, if I felt like I could take it somewhere.
Yeah.
So I did that one show. I think I did one that was in June 2017. I did another one.
That was the first one?
That was the first one, June 2017.
Yeah.
I said to my coach, I'll do it for free. And I told him, I said, if you've got any other shows coming up, lock me in. He goes, done.
Sorry, before jumping on next thing.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Had you seen, obviously you said Bruce Buffer before, had you seen anyone else, doing it? You're like, oh, that would be cool if I was the Bruce Buffer.
No, just Bruce Buffer.
That's it, yeah.
Just Bruce Buffer. And to be honest, when I was watching the fights, I wasn't really even paying attention to him. I mean, obviously the week leading up to that, I was nervous as hell.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, you can kind of say it was just an amateur show, but for me, it wasn't. It was like, this was an opportunity to actually see if I could take this and do something with it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I wanted to give the fighters their moment, because, if you watch Bruce Buffer and if you watch, how proud the fighters are when they do get introduced by him, it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
Better than being a fighter, man. I whether it's at an amateur level or a professional level, being on the mic, it's a big moment.
Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed it. And, I hope the fighters did as well. From the feedback I got, they did.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them, but
so what happened then? So you did the first one, which is just your local PCYC, and then what happened?
So I did another one for the PCYC in September. Same again. Didn't go all out Bruce Buffer, but I think I may have did it just for the main event.
Suit and tie or just
suit and tie? Always suit and tie.
Nice.
Always suit and tie. And then I think it would have been March 2018.
Yeah.
I think I was at home, and I got a call from my coach, and he goes, he goes, hey, what are you doing?
So you've done two PCYC,
2 amateur shows just for the PCYC.
Yeah.
And I was at home, and my phone starts ringing. My coach's number comes up, and I was like, "Oh man, what have I done now?" It's never good news. But I ended up picking up the phone, and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, just at home, just finished training." And he's like, "What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm working tonight." He's like, "Yeah, not anymore. They need a commentator down at the Tweed Sports Club for Boxing Mania. It's a pro show." And I said, "Oh yeah," and he goes, "Yeah."
So what does that mean? What's a pro show?
Pro show. So
in the context of, we got amateur PCYC, UFC at the top, or whatever the box.
Professionals.
Yeah.
Pretty much the main difference is that amateurs you don't get paid.
Yeah.
If you're a professional, you get a purse.
So they're getting paid.
They're getting paid.
Yeah.
Anywhere between, the millions that they make on Showtime Boxing and $200 with a free burger at Hungry Jack's.
Yeah. So what was this show in the kind of context of?
This show was a big show. Yeah, this show was a big show. So when I got there,
so what was your first thought when you got that call?
Oh, when I got that call, I shat my pants. Yeah, no, I did. I really did. And I said to him, I said, yeah. He goes, it's a pro show. It's called Boxing Mania.
What time was this that you got the call?
This was probably about 9 o'clock in the morning, and I started work at I think 11 o'clock. So he called me at 9 o'clock and he goes, "What are you doing tonight?" I said, "I'm working." And he goes, "Not anymore. You're commentating Boxing Mania, Tweed Sports Club. Oh, and by the way, it'll be for Fox Sports."
What?
Yeah, and that's when I shat my pants. I was like, "Yeah, sweet, let's do it. Who cares? Who cares? I'm either going to bomb it."
So this is on Fox Sports, like
It wasn't live, so they'd have a production team do all the production, as you know, and then they would rebroadcast it. But that was my first experience. And when I got that call, hung up the phone, called work. Yeah, hey mate, not feeling too well today. Mate, you start in 2 hours. Yeah, sorry, you start in 2 hours. Yeah, no, just not going to happen today, mate. Hung up the phone. Told my wife, I was like, "Hey, yeah, can we rain check date night? We're going to the Tweed Sports Club." She's like, "Oh, what are you doing?"
It's just as nice, I promise.
It's just as nice. It's just as nice as Paddock or Omeros or Glass or whatever. And she's like, and she was awesome. She was so supportive. She's like, "Okay, sweet, let's go." So yeah, we ended up the whole day. I was anxious.
So what time do you get down there?
I got down there. The show. I think the first fights were at 6 o'clock. I think around 6, and then the pro card started at around 8. And that whole day, I was just so nervous, and I was just thinking about it. I was like, "Man,
no shit."
I was just like, "Man, Boxing Mania, Tweed heads." I was, from going from an amateur show at the PCYC, which I was nervous for anyway, to go into this. If he hadn't, he shouldn't have told me he was on Fox, but he did anyway.
Yeah.
To going, commentating my first show for Fox Sports, not live, but nonetheless, it's going to end up on.
Still, it's Fox Sports.
My dad's going to watch this.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. My dad's going to watch this one day. It better be good. The whole day I was just nervous as hell, but. Obviously, called into work, ended up getting there around 5 o'clock, suit and tie, the whole shebang, and it was full on.
So did they come up to you like, "This is what we want from you"? Like, did you talk like, how did it run?
So you'll laugh at this, and it was the funniest thing. So I got there and I was meant to meet, with one of the production guys, and he wasn't there. So I rang.
It's a good start.
I rang the head coach of one of the fighters. His name was Angelo Hyder, Nick Midgley, two very, very notable names in boxing. And I rang Angelo and I said, "Angelo, who am I meeting with?" He goes, "Oh, just go to the front door. They'll pick you up." Sweet. So I rock up the front door. I just told the lady, I was like, "Hey, I'm here to commentate the show." I was like, "Oh, yeah, cool. Gave me the band, gave me everything. Walked in, got to the commentary booth, saw the headsets and everything. I was like, it's actually happening. I was like, it wasn't meant to happen this quick.
Yeah.
And I was commentating with a guy called Peter Maniatis, and he's an Australian Boxing Hall of Famer. He's also the top promoter for boxing
did you know
in
who
Australia.
He was?
Had no idea who he was.
Hey, I'm Tanera. I've just come in from the local PCYC.
Had no idea who he was, and I was so embarrassed because, I got there and I was the only one there, and everyone's running around here just getting the last minute things, and. Half an hour before the fight start, I'm just sitting at the booth. I'm just like, right, I'm just going to wait for something to happen. And if I see something happen in the ring, I'm just going to commentate it. So anyway, fast forward about an hour, I meet Peter. I met the production manager, and then, we didn't commentate the undercard. We just watched the undercard. And the whole time I'm just thinking, man, what do I say? What am I going to do? Like, I've gone from MC to not just being in the commentary booth, but I was actually the analyst for the night. So Peter was, so here you have, you kind of, back in the day you had your Mike Goldberg and your Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's still there today.
Yeah.
He does most of the analyst side of things for the fight, along with other fighters like Dominic Cruz, Paul Felder, so on and so forth. I think the main guy for the UFC today is John Anik. He'll do, your sponsors, your lead-ins, and then your big climatic finishes.
Gotcha.
That's what I was expecting to do. Because
not the analyst part.
Not the analyst part, because
you're not an analyst.
Well, because I'm not an analyst and I'm not qualified. You can't qualify yourself with 2 corporate fights 10 years ago and then go on there and sit and start analysing the pros and, I think you should do this. And, he's doing that. Well, I was like, mate, I got no idea what I'm looking at.
That jab looked good.
Looked great.
Well done.
Yeah, well done, Ross. So, the pro show starts and Peter, he was so professional. He just
go down touch.
Down a touch.
Yeah.
Move it back. He was so professional.
Yeah.
And, he just kicked the show off and, so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here with Tanera Nathan, an amateur boxer, 2-0 in the heavyweight division. Tanera, welcome. Thank you very much, Peter. It's good to be with you. And then
Next question.
and then bang, we're on. And we only commentated the pro fights. I think there were 6 or 7 pro fights that night.
And just the two of you.
Just the two of us. But did the whole show. My wife was sitting right beside me, and thank goodness she was, because my palms were just as sweaty as they are now. But man, I loved it.
Yeah.
And he looked after me pretty much.
Did you tell him that you'd never done it before?
No. Is that on our agenda?
Brilliant.
So yeah, when I got there, and it's funny you asked that, because the production manager he actually said to me, he's like, when I got there, he's like, right, so you got your mics here, you got your headset here, here's your volume, here's Pete's mic. Where's Pete? I said, oh no, he's coming. Right, you've done this before, haven't you? Yeah, no, I've done this for years, mate. Yeah, good. All right, good. All right, walks off. Never done it before.
That's your introduction to TV media.
That's my introduction. First show, Boxing Mania on Fox Sports, Tweed Sports Club. Never done it before, but I got to give it to my coach, because
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask. How did that come about?
Well, he put me forward, and my coach he boxed for Australia, and knows everyone on the Gold Coast when it comes to boxing.
Yeah.
But he pretty much put me forward with the confidence that not necessarily with my fight knowledge, but with this.
Yeah.
With this, I'd be able to see what's happening, deliver it well, and make it happen.
Yeah.
And then once we wrapped the show and closed it off, that was one of, I think I did about 6 Boxing Manias after that. I think.
What was after that? How did it run? Did you go like back to back, or was it just like?
So I did Boxing Mania 1 with...
That was the first one?
Well, that was the first one with Peter Maniatis.
So what happened after that? Show wrapped?
Show wrapped. Everyone's happy. Thank goodness. I got out scot-free.
Did you get paid for that?
I did. I got $100 cash. And you know what? I wasn't even expecting it.
Did they say at the end, here's your pay?
Yeah, no, it was.
Or did they say, how much do you want?
No, the promoter just got out. I think it was just one of. I think it was Nick. Yeah, Nick Midgley. He was the head coach at Kingscliff Boxing Stables. He pretty much just said, "Oh, did the boys give you any coin?" I was like, "No, mate, it's all right. I'm just here for the experience." No. Here, take that. Go get some dinner on the way home. I was like, "Yeah, this is more than I bargained for." Because for me, my mindset honestly was, this is a one and done.
Yeah.
Like once I'd done this, I was just like, "Yeah, sweet." I think. We wrapped the show, and I think, after I spoke to Nick, got paid unexpectedly, got in the car. It took me like 10 minutes just to wind down. I was just like, what just happened? But I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it. And, it wasn't like the light bulb come back on. It was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. What it was is like, I want another one.
Yeah.
I want another one. So I think, I don't know if you remember this, but I ended up posting up something on my Facebook. And I don't think I had, did I have Insta? I don't know if I had Insta. I didn't put it on Insta, but I put it on my Facebook, and I was like, your classic inspirational, motivational post from a nobody. Great night commentating for Fox Sports. Loved it. And from that, I think I had about 2 or 3 other promotions contact me, say, hey, we've got an MMA show coming up. Hey, we've got a boxing show coming up.
Just out of the blue? Just
out of the blue. Yeah. So one of my mates, Lance Lausa from Ipswich, he did a show called Nitro.
Yeah. And
that was the next show I did after Boxing Mania. So I went and did MMA. I barely know boxing, but here I am commentating MMA. But the thing was with Nitro and with MMA, it was only 7 pro cards, and I had a bit of time to prepare for that one.
What was your preparation?
My preparation was watching a ton of fights.
All right, he said that.
Yeah,
right.
Joe said this. John Anik said this. Right, over to you. But the good thing about that one is I was in the they call it your play-by-play. So your lead play-by-play position. So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome, blah, 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 blah. Don't necessarily have to talk about the analysis of the fight, so the techniques and things like that. But I'm more comfortable in that play-by-play role. So when it goes to the ground, over to you, Ross, so to speak.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I did Nitro with a guy called Daryl Martin.
And what was the time frame between the first one and the second?
2 weeks.
Yeah, right.
2 weeks. So it happened real quick.
Yeah.
And then from Nitro, Daryl has a good friend called Cam O'Neill. Cam O'Neill was the head promoter of Eternal Today. He forwarded my number to Cam. And that's how I got in with Eternal.
Yeah.
I don't know, 30 shows later. I think we're up to Eternal 61. I started Eternal 35, 25 shows, 26 shows later.
So how many did you do in that?
Eternal.
So you did that first one, did the second one, and then how many did you do in that year? Or like,
I think in 2018, I did 11 shows.
yeah, right.
Yeah, I think I did 3. I think they had 3 boxing mania. That man might have 4. 3 or 4 boxing.
Yeah. And
I think I did 4 or 5 MMA, plus emceeing the amateur shows as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, from mid 2017 to the end of 2018, probably did about 14 or 15 shows.
And then you said you got picked up with Eternal. And they're like in the scheme of things, if we go again, PCYC, Tweed Sports, Pro Boxing, like we're talking about different sports.
Well, Eternal's the promotion.
Yeah.
So Eternal's the promotion, and to be honest, they're probably leading the way when it comes to MMA.
So that's like a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, they'll probably slap me next week if I don't say it's a big deal. But no, look, it is a big deal. And if you've watched any of their shows, they're on UFC Fight Pass, and I started with them when they were just live streaming on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you look at the improvement of the production from when I started right up until today, you'd think you're watching the UFC.
Yeah.
The production is that good, but in order for the production to be that good, the fights have to be good as well.
Gotcha.
So you'll have a ton of good fighters wanting to fight an Eternal.
Yeah.
There's other good organizations around, and I'm not, kicking them to the side, but, not just because I commentate for Eternal, but from what I've seen, I definitely believe that they're, the cream of the crop when it comes to MMA. Yeah. And a lot of the fighters that have fought in Eternal have progressed onto the UFC.
So you got picked up by them.
Yeah.
And then you did, what's that, like monthly, like every 3 months, like?
Well, before COVID, I think they had a plan of 2020 to do a show either every 6 weeks or every 2 months.
Yeah, right.
So I think it might have even been, they were doing like, I think this year we did shows back to back. So I think it was Eternal 57 and 58 were back to back at the Crower Sports Stadium. And when you're doing it back to back and selling out,
So what's back to back, like a week?
Friday, Saturday. Friday night, Saturday night.
Gotcha.
So when you're doing shows back to back, you're doing something right.
Yeah.
And selling out the stadium, you're doing something right. So, had it not been for COVID, I reckon they probably would have got through, I don't want to speak for them, but they would have got through, it's probably say 15 to 16 shows.
Hectic. Yeah.
in 1 year.
Yeah.
For a local promotion, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So I'm happy to be on board.
So how many shows, do you know how many you've done total now, including the first boxing one? Roughly
30.
30.
So, 2018, 3 years, rough average 10 a year.
Gotcha.
Had it not been for COVID, probably more.
And how long would a normal night go for? Like
probably 5 hours.
So you got a fair few hours on the mic.
Yeah, you'd want to hope so. Yeah, you'd want to hope so, especially at this level. Yeah. No, I think at this stage, look, I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I never claim to know everything about the sport because I never will.
Yeah.
But I think, when it comes to that communication side, that's my strength.
Yeah.
I have done the analysis side, for Eternal. And I think that's why I probably picked up my training should they need me to do that. My coaches, if Cam Bracewell, he's scorching me every day, come to wrestling, come to jiu-jitsu, because you need to know that side if you are in the analyst seat.
Yeah.
Can't just get comfortable here. But yeah, I've clocked up the hours on the mic and hopefully there's more to come.
And on the mat as well.
And on the mat, yeah. More on the mic than the mat. It's all happening.
So you maybe touched on that a bit, but the business side of the commentating.
Yeah.
So at the moment you get hired by Eternal.
Yeah.
As a contractor.
Yeah.
They just obviously you're not working full time.
No.
You just pull you in, and they roster you and say, look, we've got 10 shows this year.
Yeah.
We want you on each show. Or is it like show by show, like, hey, we need you?
Yeah, I think that's the plan. I think I've had a few conversations with Cam and Ben, who's the other co-promoter, and I hope they're happy. To keep me on board. I'm not really looking at going anywhere else to commentate or MC. Not that there is anywhere else, but it's usually show by show. But I think they'll always reach out like 2 weeks before. Hey mate, just want to see if you're free for this. Yep. And I've told them, I'm happy to commentate exclusive for you guys. Earlier on, they flew me down to Melbourne. So, they had a show in Perth, which I was meant to go to, but obviously didn't end up going because I think it was because of COVID.
Yeah.
Maybe, or I was working, one of the two. But yeah, they pretty much just, individually contract me out, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then I'll just go and do the job for them. And then that's a wrap for the night. But yeah, it's been a really good journey, and seeing them progress from where I started to here today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm definitely on the right train.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then what happens, like what's the show fight experience like for you? Do you prepare? Do you need to like know the full card, like know the fighters? Do you watch the fighters?
Yeah.
Do you do like voice work? Like what do you like what's your preparation?
Yeah, my preparation my preparation is pretty much the knowledge that I have of the fighters. The more I know the fighters, the more I'm going to be able to say, or the more meaningful things I'm going to be able to say during the show.
Yeah.
So I think that's just come with, with experience. I think that a lot of the fighters that fight on Eternal today either have or continue to fight on Eternal either in the past, or Eternal, they're signing guys exclusive now, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So getting to know them, getting to know, you don't really have to know their story, although I like to. I'll always go in the change room and say, "Hey mate, how you feeling tonight?" All the rest, and then I'll just have my laptop sitting there.
That's what I've always wondered that with like NRL. You listen to like rugby, and like they know like if they, I assume it's just like filler stuff, like so and so did this, or like he came from here, or he went to this school. Like they know like the background, which obviously adds to it. Yeah.
Oh, exactly. I mean, with rugby and rugby league, you have so much to talk about.
Yeah.
With I guess if you're watching one fight per se, there's only two guys, so
two people,
the more I can get, the better. But if there's a fight coming up, I'll follow them on Instagram. I'll talk to their mates. Might even go do a training session with them, and then talk to them before the show. How's camp being? How you feeling tonight? And then pretty much when they're walking to the ring, I'll have their record up.
Yeah.
Oh, yep, they fought this guy, they fought that guy. They're 7-0, they're undefeated. So and so's the champ.
Yeah.
He's coming up against the guy who's also undefeated.
And you're doing all that prep work yourself, or does someone give you that?
No, I do that all myself.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I do that all myself. Oh, it's pretty easy. It's all online as far as the records and stats are concerned.
Yeah.
But the finer details, like so and so finished this guy by submission back in 2017. I was there. That's good stuff to know. And usually the guy next to me, I've had some big names next to me. Guys that have fought in the UFC: Ben Alloway, Callum Potter. I think I'm on the next show with Kyle Noak. He's one of the OGs from Australia who's fought in the UFC. Man, they've just got years and years of fight experience to share.
Yeah.
And, what I've learned, especially after the last show, what I've learned is that the people that watch MMA, they're not just casual fans. They know what they're talking about. They know what they're looking for. They know what they're watching. So if I'm trying to BS a position on the ground, or if I'm trying to, make up something that I don't know, as good as it may sound, and I can make it sound pretty good, these guys will know, no, I call bullshit, because you don't know what you're talking about, which is why when it goes to the ground, or when it goes to the submission grappling side, over to you, Kyle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Talk me through this one.
Yeah, but that won't get me to where, that won't help me progress.
Yeah.
Which is why I am doing the training and trying to learn more. And I do learn more as I watch more fights. But obviously I am more comfortable in that position of play-by-play. Yeah.
Do you reckon, would you get do you get hired for that position, and then they generally have, like, your co-host would be the more experienced in the actual fighting? Is that generally how it works? Is that the dynamic?
Yeah, that's usually the dynamic. I mean, I've done both. Yeah. I mean, going back to Boxing Mania, I started as...
I suppose boxing's a little bit simpler in terms of you've just got your striking.
Exactly. Well, I boxed, and that's the thing. It's I'm not going out there completely blind.
Yeah.
It's, I've trained boxing for, 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Had a couple of corporate fights, as we spoke about.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily going out there on a limb not knowing what I'm talking about when it comes to distance control.
Yeah, it's not, I suppose I'll probably get roasted for saying this, but it's not as complex as an MMA fight.
No, not at all.
Where you've got obviously the kicks, the grappling,
everything.
Everything.
And when you say complex, it's complex for me because I don't know everything about, the finer details.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to admit that, which is why I have help. But I think for me, I want to be able to do both, and then maybe later on down the track, focus on what I enjoy the most.
Yeah, I feel like it's a deadly combination.
Yeah, I think so too.
And just going back to the co-hosting stuff, do you know who the co-host is ahead of time?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, always ask. Always ask. Yeah. I think, have I ever had? No, I don't think I've ever had any bad experiences.
Yeah.
But it's like me and you having a conversation. It's like music. If you're trying to sing loud and I'm trying to sing loud, it's just noise.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you have someone who's, quite knowledgeable, they're giving to this section of the audience, then I'm coming in and, finishing the climax of the fight and making it the entertaining side. You've got the entertainment and the educational.
Is that agreed to ahead? Like, do they, like, if you sit down next to someone, like, if you've spoken that ahead of time, like, okay, obviously you're a lot more experienced than me. They're the analyst. Like,
definitely. You have to agree to it, because I don't think, me personally, I haven't had any experiences where I've clashed with someone and say, hey buddy, look, listen, I'd never do that. But if they do that to me and say, hey, look, I'm the play-by-play tonight, can you analyze? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to get out of me, but if that's what's going to help us cooperate more on the mic,
gotcha.
Then whatever's best for the fighters, whatever's best for the promotion, I'm happy to do that. Even though I'm confident to do the play-by-play, hey, you want me to analyze jiu-jitsu? Give it to me. Don't know what you're going to get though. Mate, we're going to break the internet with this one. I'm telling you now.
What's been the best experience of the commentating side of it? Any pinch me moments or?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Probably just being there. Probably just being there. I think even today, when you get goosebumps thinking about it. Even today, we've got a show coming up, Eternal 61. It was a big title fight, and some of the guys on that card will probably end up fighting in the UFC. I think one of the most memorable moments I had was commentating my mate and sparring partner, Sam Dobb, commentating one of his fights.
Yeah.
He fought a really, really good guy called Nick Kepp, who lost in a split decision. Either way you see it, some of us thought he won, but, we're not going to contest the decision. But I think when I was commentating that fight, just knowing that, I was a part of his camp as a sparring partner, I also do a little bit of managing for him as well. And then seeing him fight, it was almost like a proud moment. You're seeing one of your mates, in his underwear with 4-ounce gloves on, fighting another man, putting it all out there on the line because that's what he loves to do. I'm in the booth doing what I love to do. That was a big moment for me because it was kind of like, that 3-month journey leading to that moment. It was kind of like, Did
you know 3 months ago before the fight that you were commentating?
Yeah. So I told him, I don't think I told him until a month. I was like, oh, bro, I won't be in your corner, but I'll be commentating.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, that'll be sick. Yeah, I was like, no, but it was really cool. So that was a good moment. Just being there, like I said, going back to that first experience, I was pinching myself at Boxing Mania 1. I'm still pinching myself, in 2 weeks. And it's not just because, it's on Fox Sports or because it's for Eternal on UFC Fight Pass. That's great. But I think, for me, this is something that I just thoroughly enjoy. I mean, I would do it for free.
Yeah. Don't tell them that.
I'm not going to do it for free. But
just don't, Eternal. Not.
But I'm not going to do it for free, but I would do it for free.
Yeah.
And I think that's how much, I've come to love the sport.
Yeah.
And I've come to respect these guys for doing what they do in the cage, because it is, you're completely vulnerable when you're in there, which is the reason I'm not in there, which is the reason I'm suited and tied, on the side,
on the outside,
because I have so much respect for these guys. And, when, for me anyway, when I watch a fight, when I watch, the big superstars like your Israel Adesanya or your Francis Ngannou, one thing I always remember is not just how they finish the fight, but what you hear, the big Joe Rogan expression, the big climax that the commentators, the excitement that they give, not just to the crowd, but also to the fighters.
Yeah.
That's what I want to give to them. And that's what I love doing because I get excited.
Yeah.
Because I love the sport.
Love it.
Bit of a rant there, but
No, good. It's good.
You need all the content you can get, right?
Final things I wanted to get your thoughts on.
Sorry,
and obviously coming as you've mentioned a few times, you definitely no pro in any kind of. But obviously compared to me, I would say you'd be up there in terms of my experience, because my experience has been hurls, wrestling on the mat. That's about it.
Me and you both, mate.
So what advice would you give someone, or what recommendation would you give someone like me that in reasonable shape, train a couple of times a week?
Yeah.
If I'm wanting to start, which I actually am interested in doing it, training MMA, not to be a fighter, just purely for the fitness side of it.
Yeah.
Or do I go to a gym? Do I go to an MMA gym? Do I go to a BBJ? What is it? BJJ.
BJJ.
Like where should I start? What would your suggestions be? Is it boxing? Like what would you say?
It depends on what you want to do. If you've got experience with wrestling and with grappling, you'd probably enjoy something that's familiar. Like myself, I love the wrestling, I love the grappling side. So I went to an MMA gym.
Yeah.
3 weeks later down the track, I ended up doing everything: boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I think the main thing would just be to start. Even if if you went, I just want to try boxing, just show up. And one of the misconceptions that I had was, I'm going to go there and get bashed. Yes, you will, but it's not like that on your first experience. Fight gyms in particular, they're extremely welcoming to new members, for people that are willing to learn.
Yeah.
Because, coaches and other fighters and, gym owners, they know how daunting it can be, for not your average Joe, but just for, someone who's had a background in fitness, played footy and stuff like that. Yeah, it was daunting for me just to step in there and just to do, an hour on the bag, just being in that environment. But the more you do it, the more comfortable you get. And I think even going back to PCYC in 2016, I didn't go there. I went there with my mate, 1 or 2 times, but I just ended up loving the training. It was something new, it was something refreshing. So that would be my recommendation. Just show up.
Start.
A lot of these gyms have a 1 week free trial. Go and do that.
Yeah.
Just go and do that. See how you like it, and the chances are is you will like it, because especially if you've been doing a specific type of training, you can go stale, you can plateau. You can find something refreshing and new in MMA and BJJ. And like I said, when with boxing, it definitely helps with this.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of, men our age, we definitely need that.
Yeah, for sure.
So that would be my suggestion. Just start, just show up, say, hey, I'm new. Can you help me? Yeah. it takes a bit of humbling, but it's worth it. Yeah.
And if we said, it's probably a bit hard, but like if you said, what would be the primary focus to getting better? Would you say focus on cardio or focus on like technique?
A combination of both.
Yeah.
I think that the way that, from my experience, the way that classes are designed, they do focus on both.
Yeah.
I think that if you have a coach in the gym, he'll probably want to focus on the technique side, because you can't necessarily go away and teach yourself technique. You can watch YouTube videos, but that doesn't help. I think that, when I do go to a certain class, whether it's the beginner's class or the fighter's class, it is technique based.
Yeah.
And you can do your cardio in your own time, like your runs or your skipping, things like that. But when you're doing your technique, there'll always be time to, do a bit of light sparring at the end. And I think, a lot of coaches do allow that.
Yeah.
But I think, go to the gym. It will be 80% of it will be technique, both technique focused, and then you can do your cardio outside of the gym. Obviously I don't do my cardio outside of the gym, but the technique side, when I'm there, yep, it works.
What do I need any gear to get started?
You got a mouth guard from 2009, don't you?
Still fits.
I think it's either straighter now than they were back then. Yeah, just mouth guard, 16-ounce gloves is probably preferable. And then if you go into like a BJJ gym, they can lend you a gi until you buy one.
Yeah.
But the main gear would just be mouth guard, 16-ounce gloves. And then 6 weeks, 8 weeks down the track, you might get a headgear for some sparring, some shin pads for some kickboxing, depending on where you want to go with it. But the only gear I've still owned to this day is just a mouth guard and 16-ounce gloves and some shin pads.
Yeah.
So that's all you need.
Obviously we're here on the Gold Coast, what's the more popular gyms any suggestions?
Look, there's a few. Obviously, I train in Bundle only because it's close.
Yeah.
Carlson Gracie, BJJ, primarily jiu-jitsu focused, but they do have MMA, wrestling, and boxing classes there as well. This end, you've got heaps of gyms. You've got CMBT. They've got a few fighters out of there. If you head further north on the way to Brisbane, Southside MMA is another reputable gym as well. Your local PCYC, Marais, Bundle, Ashmore.
Yeah.
As far as MMA gyms, they used to have a lot back in the day. I know Prophecy Fight Center. I don't know if they're still in Surfers Paradise. There's not as many as there were probably, say, 10 years ago. But you just jump online. Obviously, I'm going to plug the ones I know.
Yeah.
But there's heaps, and I think most of your experience will come from your relationship with your coach, and but I've never had a bad experience, and I've trained at most of them. Heartbreak Conditioning out at Nerang as well. You remember Heartbreak?
Yeah. Tires and chains.
Well, they've still got the tires and chains and the hammers and everything. They do the conditioning side. But Cole Smith, we're sparring out there this week actually.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of fighters out there too. They got a cage. They got a ring. So have a look. I mean, any gym and any coach will be very inviting to new members like me and you.
Nice. And probably should have asked this at the start. What's your show name, just to wrap things up?
Show name.
Stage name.
Stage name. Well, I mean, there's only. What was my nickname at school? Tea time. I think you're the only one that calls me that today. Get on board, lads. But usually I'll give an introduction. My name is Tanera Nathan, better known as MCT, your cage side commentator this evening. So MCT. I'll go with that until it either burns off or I get sued for copyright. So.
or sponsored.
Yeah, or sponsored, and they say they've got to ditch the nickname. So, MCT.
Excellent. Good chatting to you.
Mate, thank you. This has been awesome.
Final words of wisdom?
Final words of wisdom from me or from you? From me. Look, in my experience, there's not much wisdom that comes with it. But, no, look, I love what I do. I love what I do. And, what started out as just something to see if I could actually do it and enjoy it, has allowed me to commentate 30 plus shows within the space of 3 years and hopefully plenty more. And like I said, I don't know everything, but I love the process of learning and I've got a lot to learn as we've found out from this conversation. But no, I love it, mate. And, hopefully there's 30 plus shows more to come and we can come back for episode 2.
Excellent. MCT, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roscoe.
If you've enjoyed this episode of More Than Money, make sure that you subscribe to keep up to date with all of the latest episodes. And feel free to like, comment, and share with a friend.